Despicable Me 3. Ever since it all began in 2010, Despicable Me truly established itself to become one of the biggest animated franchises of the decade, where only Disney would be able to make something that can get up to Gru's level. Rather you love him or hate him, the former supervillain and his minions have managed to create a billion-dollar empire. No joke, as of 2017, the only non-Disney animated feature to ever surpass $1 billion at the box office was when the Minions decided to make their own movie, and Despicable Me 2 was actually not too far behind from passing that milestone. Sure, when you go out, it's impossible to look around without seeing a Minion somewhere, but this is exactly why Illumination Entertainment quickly became one of the top animation studios of the industry. But now that Gru is back to have a little family reunion, will his return to villainy make us love him all over again? Or will he now emphasize the bad in bad guy? Let's find out. The story. Well, let's be honest, story has never been the franchise's strongest asset, and this one really does show that. I understand what it's trying to do with all the different stories, and it does make it so that it's not just Gru getting all or most of the attention. But the biggest problem this movie has is a large case of predictability. Every plotline sounds like the same old type of narrative that's been done many times in previous works, thus easily knowing the outcome of each one. Rather it be the steps Gru will go through with his relationship with Drew, his mission to stop Balthazar Brat, Lucy trying to be a mother to the girls, and more. Also, the film offers some side plots that barely even connect to the main story. What's really unfortunate about it is that they feature really interesting concepts that explore into the development of other characters of the franchise, including the Minions wanting to go back into villainy and Agnes wanting to see a real unicorn with her own eyes. However, the big reason why these flaws are apparent is because it knows that people don't come to these movies for the flow of the journey itself. The writing puts in focus directly on the heart and the humor, since those make the true core of Despicable Me, and on that aspect, it works. When it dives into the main plot of Gru and Drew, it's not about the status of their relationship, but their feelings for one another.
Pretty slick, huh? Hey, you wanna take her out for a spin just for some fun?
Thanks to the focus onto the characters themselves instead of what they go through, it manages to provide many great emotional and heartwarming moments, especially when either Gru or Lucy would interact with the girls. As for the humor, it always finds a way to deliver a whole bunch of laughs. Sure, the Minions plotline can be considered pointless, but they are quite entertaining and offer some of the funniest moments of the film. Even I'll admit that the story is not that good, but it's not trying to be a story-driven film. It's trying to be a Despicable Me film. The animation. I'll give it that in this installment, it does get a bit more creative with the animation. While it does carry many of the same characteristics as before, it does offer many new ideas and find all the different ways to play around it. Any of the flaws with the visuals are just the same ones that have been featured in the predecessors, and they're not really big ones either. Like how the character designs can look a bit too abstract and cartoonish in contrast to the character animation, where their movements are more smooth and grounded, where it's more in their acting that makes them look more lively. Speaking of which, the latter in itself is a lot more playful with some of the characters, rather it be with Drew, Balthazar, or with the Minions in whatever crazy situation they find themselves in. One thing that's being improved upon in this feature in terms of Despicable Me's visuals is the production design and the new environments that the characters get into. Let's face it, other than the layers of Gru and El Macho, the film series never really offered unique looking areas that don't look like your average urban environment. Here, however, when the characters enter in Fredonia, It delivers an entire wealth of beautiful looking environments, like the small European-style village, Drew's pig-themed mansion, the family's secret supervillain lair, and the forest. But I'll just say right now that the greatest addition to the feature has to be Balthazar Brat. In a visual perspective, his 1980s aesthetics bring out a whole new level of enjoyment, especially with his numerous of weapons all based on pop culture toys and references of that decade. This is not to undermine the gadgetry from other characters that they bring up. They're also really creative too, like Drew's family arsenal. With the weapons at hand, they also make the action scenes both engaging and fun with some well-executed effects and more character animation where the fights include dance-offs. With all the new ideas it delivered in the third film, it's nice to see that the animation got an upgrade. The characters. Anyone who would want to go in this film just to see the return of their favorite characters will end up feeling very satisfied with the results. Along with bringing in new characters, the recurring ones are back with something a little bit new to offer. It is true that because the story has its issues, it does take them away from their full potential. But at least we can see that they can grow into something more than what they were in the last two films. Starting with Gru, he's learning more about his past and his family legacy, while also falling into the pressure of returning into villainy as a way to continue the family legacy and to bond with his long-lost twin brother. While that's going on, Lucy now has to start taking on the role of actually being a mother to the three girls. Speaking of which, among Margot, Edith, and Agnes, it's the latter that would get the most attention here, driven by her passion for unicorns.
Was it fluffy?
It was so fluffy! I thought I was gonna die.
There was one short instance with Margot where a boy would want to be engaged with her, but that was just more to emphasize Lucy's plotline. As for the minions, again, their side of the story could have easily been removed and the feature wouldn't be any different. However, we do explore more of who they are and what they want, as they decide to return to villainy without their boss and to take matters into their own hands. As for the new characters, Drew is the more flamboyant twin brother of Gru. Throughout his life, he wasn't liked by his father, and is determined to make him proud by wanting to be a supervillain worthy to be a part of the family legacy, and wants help from Gru to achieve his goal. And then you have Balthazar Brat, one of the most enjoyable animated villains in recent years. He just refuses to move on from his past to the point that he actually now believes that he is the character he played on TV as a child star in the 80s. Not only does he surround himself with everything related to that decade, but he's just fueled by madness with a need for revenge from Hollywood from canceling his show. Even with those predictable outcomes, the characters still manage to be a lot of fun to watch while delivering some new tricks to stay fresh. It's very rare for a trilogy to achieve this, but for the third time in a row, it managed to stay solid. Despicable Me 3 still maintains what made the previous films enjoyable, like lovable characters, some heartwarming moments, great laughs, and creative animation, but also delivers some new elements to show that the franchise can still have some surprises, like a crazy and hilarious villain, and knowing more about Gru's family by meeting his brother, Drew. Sure, it can have some flaws like a predictable and feeble story, but it's not enough to take away the fun that this movie can offer. Of course, any fan of the Despicable Me films would want to watch this, but even if you don't mind the movies and its cultural impact, it's worth a watch as a nice comedy. Basically, the one instruction for this film is just, if you don't hate the Minions, you'll most likely have a good time with this.
Oh, I miss the minions.